Hi everyone. I'm Echoes and I'm a VTuber and I'll be spending today covering episode 5 of Gundam Wish from Mercury, Reflection in an Icy Eye. This seems to be more of a Elan centric episode and there's a lot to cover here, so let me break it down for you. So in the beginning of the episode, we have Elan fighting against 3 people, and then it pretty much shows how he fights. He pretty much seems to be a primarily long-ranged fighter. He usually prefers to use guns and fighting from a long distance. And he also enjoys manipulating other people so he doesn't have to fight as much himself. He's not as direct as Suletta and Guel in this comparison. So it's interesting we get to go more about him because we honestly didn't know much about him at all. Funny remark here is that it looks like Jaturk and Elan don't really have a good relationship because he's kind of offended about being maybe Elan was inspired by Guel's many duels in order to fight more, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, and also pretty much he is a part of the Peil group, which is confirmed. They seem to be very heavily technological group out of the 3 main branches. Just fighting. Also, he has a very clean way of fighting as well. It's sort of like, it reminds me of nobility or kind of being very elegant for the most part. This is different later on, but in this duel specifically, it's very elegant. And you could tell like his face as well. He is known for not really showing any emotion. So that seems to be a very important point later on. And he wins the duel. Pretty much 3 against 1. He didn't really have any trouble with that. And what's interesting here is that you have this woman who seems to be kind of important. She's part of the Peil group. We didn't see her before. And she's the one who seems to be in charge of Elan specifically. It looks like they're trying to do a lot of testing, and they consider Elan and Suletta both as witches, and witches are quote-unquote people who can use the Gundam format. Also need to point out something, and here they mention how they believe that the aerial did something that a lot of other Gundams couldn't do, which was pretty much like the main problem with Gundams, as seen in the prologue, was that they harmed their pilots. That's why they call it considered a bioethical concern. But the aerial does not do that. It does not harm Suletta, which I think is the most important distinguishing point here. And people are and the important question here is whether the suit is the one who is pretty much the one that doesn't cause the ethical criticism, or it's Suletta herself, because Suletta is she's already a sort of, what do you call it? She's quote unquote a new type in a way, right? She's one who able to transcend normal human boundaries and limits. So we'll have to see. And also, she doesn't have her face, because the thing is that her face glowed before in the prologue when she was using the prototype Lifrith, I believe. But Ariel doesn't do that, and the Ariel is quote unquote considered to be like evolution of the original Lifrith as well. So we'll see. I don't know if that's because Suletta particularly wanted, or Suletta's mother developed the aerial to not harm the pilot, or the aerial itself doesn't want to harm the pilot. So you can see the Peil group here, those 4 people who look kind of similar. And oh yeah, this is an important point. So pretty much we have enhanced person number 4. Person number 4 is Elan specifically. What's interesting about this specific name for him is that enhanced person kind of refers to him being a Cyber Newtype. He is quote unquote either a designer, baby, or child, or he is pretty much an artificially created person. He's not created naturally. So that's I think the important point here. I'll make another point later, but he is considered to be have been born in order to use the Gundam format. So he's created in order to wield or use Gundam model suits. And also number 4 is specifically here as well. So number 4 has 2 meanings. So 4 shows that he is the fourth person, in order to quote unquote be a artificially created human being or a Cyber Newtype, right? So there must have been 3 people before him, and we don't know what happened to them. And 4 is also, in Asian countries, it's the word for death, especially China specifically, but it's not considered a good number. So I wonder if this is kind of a way just to show that he'll die later on. So I consider this a death flag. And also the fact that they don't refer to him by his name, which is Elan series. So it kind of shows that he is only considered an object. He's not considered important enough to distinguish himself by his name, and they instead call him by sort of as an experimental number, which is enhanced person number 4. So you get a lot of information just from these 4 lines, which is incredibly interesting. It also shows his background as well. We'll get some more information on that later on. And he's the one who has he's the one who's actually testing her. He's like seeing, oh, is she actually a person who could like wield a Gundam? Are you like me? And then we'll skip the opening. So he's like kind of exploring her. He's trying to gauge what type of person she is, what she can do, how useful she is to him, kind of thing. And here's where pretty much you see that the aerial specifically has already, one second, let me go back. Okay, so here they're doing some repairs. So yeah, so pretty much here is where you see the Suletta currently is in the Earthian dorm, because a lot of the people there are doing like quote unquote repairs to it. Yeah, so it's pretty much he's in the cockpit. So the thing is that there's a few people in there just trying to see what the systems are like. So the kids in there are like, oh, this is such a cool thing. And they mention how the technology is extremely high level. I'm not sure what they mean by integration, but I wonder if it's quote unquote considered the connection or between the pilot and the suit specifically. They're so entwined together that they're inseparable, or just another way of saying that it's advanced technology. Worthy of the gods, very high tech for sure. And she is super interested because she's like a huge model suit nerd. Yeah, and she also just saying that the area is very mysterious, which it is. What's interesting here is that Suletta is kind of getting her fortune told. And there's a few important points that are made here. And they also use rocks, which is interesting. So she mentions a few points. So in the center, they pretty much, the fortune telling lady mentions that the center stone is her mother. It's really big. So that means that in a way, the mother is probably the most important character, either to Suletta. Like, this is specifically, like, the fortune told for Suletta specifically. So her mother is incredibly important to her. So this sort of confirms that. And no sign of father means the father's dead, as shown in the prologue. She doesn't seem to remember him that well since it's been such a long time. And there's another important point. Not this one. She said he doesn't remember him that well, which makes sense. She was only so young then. And also this one as well. And then there's a stone on the side that pretty much, let's see, 10. So a brother. So I initially thought that this stone was kind of actually representative of the Ariel, but also because Ariel is considered to be a sibling by Suletta. However, after watching this episode, this stone actually could refer to Elan specifically, because they're quote-unquote siblings in the fact that they're both pilots who could use the Gundam type, and they're quote unquote new types, even if he's a cyber new type and she's more like a naturally born one. So this one, this specific stone is a bit ambiguous in meaning. It could refer to Ariel or it could refer to Elan specifically. Pretty sure it's Elan here, but it's just a very interesting note. And I'm wondering if the numbers have any significance. Whether maybe he could have the number of the hanging man, for example, or death, would be interesting. And she's, I think here Suletta is wondering whether she could read the fortune of Elan specifically. But the thing is that she doesn't know his birthday, so she'll have to ask him. She'll do that later on. And here's where Elan asks her for a date specifically, which is it's super cute. Doesn't turn out well later on, but you'll see what I mean. Because she's really enamored with him. Like, he's treated her well. He's very handsome, even though he doesn't really show emotions altogether that much. And then we get the title. And this is interesting because you see that the girls are getting ready for bed, and you can see that Suletta is actually currently staying at the Earth dorm with the other girls. So this is like their girls' dorm. You can see they have the bunk beds and things. Super cute. It also has this rustic feel. It kind of shows its age. It's not as like new or nice looking as Mirene's place. So yeah, so pretty much it's just super practical. It's pretty much bunk beds. Pretty sure 2 girls per bed. Yeah, so that's also a nice note to make. And also that the girls are comfortable enough to bring Suletta into their dorm. So so pretty much just shows how comfortable Suletta in her presence. She's not considered intimidating. She's not considered threatening here, which is good. It shows that they trust her quite a lot here. And then they're like, Elan's taking on a date and everything, and this little girl's wondering if Suletta's like aiming for him. She's like, no, that's not it. Which is kind of funny. And she kind of has the attention of a lot of important people. And here's where she learns more about his name. He is known as the Ice Prince. It's somewhat common trope in anime, but it more just shows that he's not really someone who shows a lot of emotions. And they say he doesn't really he doesn't smile when he's happy, he doesn't frown when he's sad, he does not furious when he's angry. Pretty noticeable from the previous episode, he had a sort of I called it a deadpan face before, but it is also a type that girls like, so we'll see. Yeah, and I think this is also that part's also important, where it's possible that because he's considered a Cyber Newtype, he is built specifically to not allow emotions to influence him as much. That's a feeling I get. Or he had a certain upbringing where he became emotionally repressed. So I'm not sure which one that is. Could be either. And then also you can see Suletta is calling her mom here and just telling her that she's going on a date, going out with someone. So, and her mom's obviously being supportive of her. And you can see that this person seems kind of important. I don't know who he is, though. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. Yeah. She's giving her, pretty much her daughter a lot of supporting words, which is good. She's probably one of the only parents who does that, but also, it's hard to say what intention she has, but she does seem to genuinely care for her daughter and wants her to do well. And they talk about how she's enjoying school. And then this guy came in, and he's pretty much showing her Peil technology making its move, which isn't the important thing. It pretty much shows that at least Suletta's mom is aware of Peil's technologies. And also, Elan is part of Peil Technologies, so in a way, all the parties involved are aware of it. So it shows that Suletta's mom, in particular, has a lot of eyes and ears around, where she gets a lot of information and can manipulate things as she pleases. And you can see here is that looks like they're replaying the duel with Guel here. And pretty much looks like they're doing a lot of analysis. This guy and that woman from before. Attitude control patterns. Too organic. So what I think they don't realize here is that pretty much, as mentioned before, Ariel and Suletta have a very close bond. So I'm wondering if the organic part is referring to the Ariel helping Suletta pilot, or that helping pilot, or they just have such a good synchronization with each other that it feels incredibly natural. It doesn't feel like artificially made decisions. In comparison to, for example, Google's do when he was using the AI, it kind of didn't listen to him. And also, it didn't seem to make quote unquote rational decisions, it wasn't that smart. So I'm pretty sure here is that this lady and Elan are trying to break it down. Do you think this body augmentation? That's interesting as well. Yeah. Normally a task this heavy would instantly kill. Really? Okay, so pretty much body augmentation here I think means that pretty much when you control the Gundam, you also control the suit as well. So there's a few important things with Elan here specifically. So he thinks that Suletta here is quote unquote an enhanced person. He thinks that she is a Cyber Newtype, when in reality she is most likely a natural born Newtype. She wasn't born to control the Gundam. She just happened to control the Gundam. There's a difference in circumstances here. Also, he was using this chair that was connected to a lot of cables before. I've seen similar chairs with in Gundam Unicorn, especially with Banaji when he was learning how to become a new type in training, and also with Marita Cruz when she was brainwashed by the Federation in order to control the Banshee. It seems to be a very like quote unquote machine technical chair. I don't really know what it does, but the point is that it seems to hook up with him, or it seems to gain information from him somehow. So it could pretty much like read, or he seems to have some sort of health or body related issue, which is related to see these red glowing marks, which are the signs of quote unquote an enhanced person. They are artificially implanted what do you call it? It's the prosthetics, the Gundam prosthetics that was introduced in the prologue. So it's considered forbidden technology, but you can see that in his body it's running red. It does that in the prologue as well, where when it's activated it has this red mark, and it's interesting where it kind of flows like in the center of his limbs. It also very specifically shows on his face and cheeks. I think it's just an interesting way to put it, but I don't know. It's like it pretty much is very easy to see when it's activated. And he's saying, "Oh, she's just like me," and this one's like, "There's no time for your grievances." So the grievances means that he probably has suffered a lot. And it's like, oh, maybe there is like someone else that's like him, and is her face borrowed from another? This is very important too. It pretty much shows that he's artificially made, because if he's borrowing someone else's face, it means that his face was specifically made to look a certain way or taken from another person, which is kind of wild. Pretty much just confirms him being artificial, and her face is not borrowed, obviously, because she was, the child of both of her parents, and he was specifically a designer child, which was probably created maybe in some type of lab or something. So very different upbringings, which I think he eventually comes to real terms with, and he's actually kind of excited about it, because he wants to learn more about her. And also, he's pretty much been doing some physical testing here, just making sure that his body is okay, because he's not a naturally born human. And yeah, it looks like pretty much she's ordering him to do some things. So that's kind of the interesting thing. Yeah, so pretty much he's like, oh, I'm just going to follow you. So you already see the difference in relation between this woman and him, and Scylla's mother and her. She's ordering him to do things, while Scylla's mother is allowing her to do things. There's a very big difference when it comes with how they perceive the person that they're working with. So in a way, Elan is kind of like a soldier here. He's kind of like marching along. And now pretty much, so Scylla's going on the date with Elan specifically. So pretty much they're going on the date with the mobile suit, which is kind of wild. And she's grateful that all the kids there are helping her, because a lot of them are like mechanics and stuff. And then Mercury is like, why are you going on a date with this guy? Because he's part of the Peil group, which is like one of the biggest branches. And the other girls are just trying to allow her to go on the date. I think Miorine's justifications are kind of very understandable, if a little bit too aggressive as well. And a funny reference of Romeo and Juliet here. It's another Shakespearean reference, and also refers to a tragic romance between Suletta and Elan. So it honestly could be like that. It doesn't seem to be something that will end well between the two. It's like a tragedy in the making, I suppose. So here's where Suletta greets him and everything. And here, pretty much, Jaturk learns about the date with Suletta and Elan while he's at the gym, which is kind of funny. But it also shows that there's an emphasis on like people working out and everything. Good for your health. Exercise is good. He is like, what? So, in a way, you'll notice the differences between how Miorine, Guel, and Elan treat Suletta. They're very different, which is, I think, an important note to make. And here's where Elan is just wanting Suletta to go around the area. Pretty much, you'll see what I mean. So she's kind of just walking around the training ground a little bit. She's kind of doing like a test run, and he's saying that she's a good pilot. And he's asking a variety of questions. He's like, how long have you worked with this machine? And she mentions that she's been with it forever, pretty much. She's like always been with the aerial. And he's specifically asking her, do you suffer or do you struggle? Very important point to make here, because he's wondering whether she has the Gundam deals with the data storms or deals with the drawbacks of being a Gundam pilot. And she says she doesn't suffer at all, and rather she felt very comfortable. Incredibly important point, because he seems to have suffered, which is why he's asking her, and she has not. It's hard to know why there's that distinction. Why is she, quote unquote, the exception? Is it because of the suit or because of her? I think it's because of the suit, most likely. Because compared to like her time with the Lefrit, it was she didn't really seem to have any side effects. But also it wasn't clear at the time. She had the red marks appear when she was controlling at the time. But she didn't seem to suffer from any pain. She was not like in agony or anything. He's like, what? And she's pretty much talking about how her relationship with the Ariel, about always being together, and it's pretty much her family in a way. And he at least acknowledges that a little bit. He's a very smooth guy. And she's asking him what his birthday is, but he doesn't really answer her question. And pretty much he wants to, one of the most important things, he is the one who's allowed to control the Ariel for a little bit. And won't be rough with a family member, which is nice of him. And she's like kind of kicked out, which is kind of funny. It's like, maybe he did this to avoid talking about his birthday. Yeah, it could be that too. But pretty sure Elan has more, has something more important in mind, I guess. So here, pretty much one of the important things here is that whether you're or not you're a Gundam. Permit score. And the permit score seems to be whatever technology they're using in order to use the Gundam technology. It's like some sort of like mental thing. It's like a mental power that you directly hook up to the suit. And here he notices that so pretty much it is the Gundam technology because he is able to control the Gundam as if she was the Gundam. Like a hand reaching so roughly into my brain. So yeah, so the thing is, it looks like Gundam usually is when pretty much the machine is very directly trying to influence your mind. That's why usually when people use the Gundam technology, they either go crazy or their senses are pretty much fried. But here, he makes a very specific note that like his marks don't glow at all. So even when he's using the Quote technology, his own like Newtype part is not in him. Is not glowing, at least. It's not affected. And here, here's when you see him being the most emotional the entire time. Where he's like, he's pretty much actually super angry. He has this really like crazed look. It also shows that he understands now that she is rather different from him. He thought initially that she was similar, but in reality, they're very distinctive people, even if they both can control Gundam types. And he's become super angry at her. He also says he never had her birthday. And also, he's pretty much super mean to her. These things are nothing but a curse. Yeah, he's pretty much like super negative here. And her expression here is just so sad. Yeah, because she's just crying here. And Jaturk is like, what the heck are you doing? What did you... And I think he is actually more of the emotional, like he seems to have more emotional sensitivity compared to Miurine and Elan. Miurine is rather brass and sort of super like direct when it comes with her emotions. She kind of like tells people what to do. Elan is the one who he doesn't show them at all. And he may quote unquote pretend to be empathetic, right? He may pretend to be kind. But he doesn't actually feel that way because he doesn't feel emotion that strongly. And here is where Jaturk, you can see that he looks at her and he's like, oh, Elan did something wrong. And he's like, what the heck did you do? So there's a very different ways of responding to Suletta's emotions here. So I think that's a quote unquote like one of the most important parts. And here's where also I mean, I forgot his name. Oh my god. Elan, yeah. So Elan is going to find a duel. And pretty much they go through the duel specifically. Guel specifically wants Elan to stay away from her. Because I feel like he actually is being protected. He may be a tsundere, but he's trying to protect her. He's trying to keep her safe. He's not the type to want her to cry or feel upset. While this guy's telling her not to interfere with the duel. And I forgot what he wanted specifically. Oh yeah, what he wanted was that he wanted to do a Suletta. If he won. And then they also mentioned how he's not supposed to be using his mech because he was forbidden by his father. Most likely he'll be punished afterwards. You'll see what I mean later. And they're also pretty much they're all observing right now. So this is one of the another duel where two important characters are fighting, but it's not Suletta specifically. And here's where you get to see Elan's main mech, which is this black one. It definitely reminds me a lot of the Banshee when it comes with its visual. It's like a dark alternative. And they're fighting. So pretty much, I'm just gonna summarize the battle. So pretty much, Elan has a way of fighting where he fights very much from far range, and he likes manipulating his environment to his advantage here. He also, rather than being super violent, he pretty much prefers to sort of lock the person in place until they're unable to win. He's sort of like he's the type to, I guess, play with his enemies rather than just fight. He's not as direct of a person. But he's also ruthless where he wants to win absolutely. And also he has his mech in this episode has this incredibly floaty feel. So it does feel like kind of like a more of like an artificial mech as well. But also demonstrates his ability to control it well. While Jaturk's mech comparison feels very heavy. I'm pretty sure I wonder if they're also emulating zero gravity here too. And he also has funnels. Important point there too. Let's see, let me close that. Okay. And these lasers are pretty much stun lasers, electromagnetic lasers. So they pretty much just use to stun Jaturk, so he could be rendered immobile. Oh yeah, this is also important. Pretty much, let me go back a little. I went too far. So, Suletta's mom is watching them. And pretty much, let's see. Yep, it's been too long. Okay, so important word is that this woman calls Suletta's mom senpai. So that means that Suletta's mom actually was a teacher or a mentor toward this woman. So in a way, it also demonstrates the relationship where Suletta's mom is the more experienced one in respect that she's more experienced with the technology and the new type technology enough that she was able to refine the aerial to not harm her daughter. But her kohai or her student here is that other woman, but she may be knowledgeable about the gun technology, but she's not as knowledgeable enough, and that's the difference here, where pretty much Elan's mobile suit still, even if it's a Gundam type, it still does harm its pilot. It does have a backlash. And yeah, and then Suletta's mom's, there's another person who could use new types. Gula does try his best though. He does try to reflect the beams and tries to use his area as well. And you can see at the very end, you can see a lot of the students wincing because Elan's just being so, especially his reaction is like, oh, it's gonna like end really badly for someone, because not only is the mobile suit being destroyed again, especially since Guel specifically is already on the bad side of his father, it will only bring him lower and lower. Like, who knows if this suit will be repaired? We don't know. And Suletta's like, what? Why is he being so ruthless? As pretty much removes the arm and does a lot of damage. And you can see here's where Elan pretty much pulls the top of the mobile suit. And Jaturk's like, no, you can't do this to me. And important, so pretty much does it himself because any mobile suit can't do anything. It's pretty much completely immobilized. And Jaturk is, Guel is traumatized again. And he's like, the only way to defeat a Gundam is with a Gundam. So pretty much what he wanted the most here was that he wanted to fight against Suletta. And you can see here that he has 8 victories. You don't know if he lost at all. And also he is part of the Peil group, I believe. I think this is their symbol. It's like a bird. Hard to say that. But anyway. There's that. There's a bet as well, and then Elan pretty much calls her and is like, I want to duel with you. that was like his main motivation in the end. He pretty much is going through with his victory condition. And Suletta is traumatized from before because he was treating her super coldly. He's like, you are not anything like me. And she's like, why are you treating me like this? Oh yeah, and then the important part as well here is that if he wins, he will take the aerial, which thus increases the stakes now, where pretty much she has to win, otherwise aerial will be taken away from her. The question is how far will they both have to go as two Gundam pilots are fighting each other. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of the episode. There's like so much to cover. It's like super dense compared to other episodes, especially compared to last episode. So it looks like we're getting like a mix of lighthearted and heavy episode. They're sort of intertwining it, so it's not like too overwhelming for viewers to watch. And also something important here is the is actually the title, which is called Gloomy Song. It's hard to know exactly who this is referring to, but it does show that the next episode may not have a good ending. It may be even a tragedy, with the whole Romeo and Juliet reference from before. So yeah, we'll honestly see how it goes. I'm glad that this episode we learned more about Elan, and pretty much knew more about him as a person and his motivations, because that was the only one missing among the three fiancés of Suletta. So yeah, I don't know. I'm looking for the next episode, but also kind of bracing myself for what's going to happen. It's not. I have a feeling it's not going to be a pleasant watch, especially since both Suletta and Elan are fighting for very much. They have their strong motives here. So yeah. Anyway, hope you enjoyed watching and have a good rest of your day. Take care.